consent agenda, and I see Commissioner Franklin is the one wanting to approve that. Yes, as a motion.
Muted.
And Commissioner McCarley is a second. Okay. Any discussion on those asterisk items which are represented on the agenda? Any discussion by the audience? If not, all those in favor signify by raising your hand, so it's easily visible. And opposed by the same sign, unanimously passes. I am looking for Ms. Clues on this, and I do not see her. I assume she is here, correct? Kelly, are you here?
Mr. Mutz,
Yes.
Mayor, Kelly is having we're having bad internet issues here at City Hall today, and she's trying her best to log in over and over and over again. So
There's Commissioner Reed. That's good.
I know she's trying, but we're having
What I don't want to do is race ahead of her ability to take minutes. Oh, I see she has arrived. Kelly, are you on? Can you hear us?
I'm here now. Thank you.
Okay, we just approved the consent agenda with a motion from Commissioner Franklin, seconded by Commissioner McCarley.
Thank you.
And that's all the farther we are. And I see Mr. Cook.
just one other thing. Palmer, every time you turn your mic on, it's like the zombie in the computer again. So I need you to log off and redo everything, or bring Alex from IT in and fix whatever you guys did last time. But every time I unmute you, it's a ghost in the machine.
Well, what's problematic is he's next. So I'll buy him a little time. We have no requests to appear from the general public, and we have no equalization hearing to look at. So, but we do have some public hearings and some ordinance which he will bring up. We also have made a decision on Monday's meeting next week to be able to try and include a business report, which Commissioner Madden was hoping to have some input on. And so we'll have some portion of presentation for that. I'm waiting to hear back, just so that you know, over the weekend, some of our small business organizations worked to create a survey that could be made available to small business owners, which we had a chance to look at, and I'd like to have you have a chance to look at as well, make sure that it's kind of the information you'd like to see garnered. And it would be sent out to the memberships of the chamber, for example, SCORE, Bridge, and some other small businesses, not LEDC's members in this recommendation, because they would kind of skew the numbers a little bit because of the size of most of the members. Yes, Commissioner Walker.
I think City Manager has his hand up for something. He may be able to answer my question. I'd like to hear from him first.
Okay, City Manager Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commission. We've been reaching out to some of our stakeholder partners to try to schedule them. And is that me? I hope not. Try to schedule them. And so far, Corey Skates and Steve Scruggs have confirmed, so they'll be part of that meeting. I'll reach out to a few of the others. I was just going to note, had a chance to see a little bit of that survey that's being put out by Bridge Local. If you would like, we could reach out to them and have them kind of have Chris Ann explain that survey to the commission too, if that's something the commission would feel is important.
Well, and I think the only timeliness issue to me, Tony, is that it might be nice, since they're going to be on next Monday on the agenda, it would be nice to use this week to gather some of the data from the businesses, just because a week's an important amount of time.
Well, yeah, obviously they can go ahead and move forward with, because it's their survey and they're working with their partners, they can move forward, but it might be good to have Chris Ann also here with Corey and Steve and whoever else we can get to give some information.
Let's do that.
I'll make sure we reach out.
And Commissioner Madden, any comment there from you? But you'd like that idea? And Commissioner Walker.
Have we thought about reaching out to the Central Florida Business Diversity Council?
Great idea. Can be, absolutely. So this would be a link they could send out.
Make them inclusive as well.
Absolutely. I think it's wonderful. They could just send out that link as well. So it's a good, decent survey. You know what? One of the things we want to be careful about is that we're not creating an expectation city remedy in this, but rather knowledge of what the needs are so that we can respond to them. And that's a difference. And so not being threatened by that, then having a survey is a good thing to learn, because we learn where people are, and that's a good thing. So I appreciate Commissioner Madden you bringing that up. All right, and Ms. Coos, yes, we did approve the consent agenda. That was Commissioner Franklin and Commissioner McCarley. All right, so that brings us to public hearings, and do I see?
Am I normal or can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Great. All right. One ordinance for second reading. Proposed ordinance number 20-018, an ordinance relating to zoning, providing for a change in zoning classification from O1 low impact office to C1 pedestrian commercial on approximately 1.78 acres located at 2111 Lakeland Hills Boulevard, providing conditions, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Okay, there's a motion to approve and a second from Commissioner Walker and a second from Commissioner McCarley. Conversation or discussion by commissioners? Any by the audience? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner McCarley?
Wait. We have two callers on. I'm trying to unmute them now.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that.
So I apologize.
Not a problem.
So let's try that again. They're unmuted.
All right, caller number one, if you just state your name and your comment, please. We're not hearing anything, Kevin.
No, then I guess go ahead. They're on the line, but
Well, do caller number two if you don't mind.
well, all the callers are open. I don't know what agenda item they're there for, so that's the only thing.
This
We don't
is a
have a
public-
switchboard where we
okay.
can do that. So
All right, so this would be for our ordinance reading that we just did. If you have a comment on that ordinance reading, which is the proposed 20-018, you could make that comment here.
This relates to the expansion of the number of beds allowed in the Grand Villa Assisted Living Facility on Lakeland Hills Boulevard, just south of Tiger Town.
Hearing no one, then we'll roll call. Commissioner McCarley.
Aye.
Commissioner McLeod.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Madden.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Yes.
Commissioner Franklin.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. So unanimously passes. There is no report from the Community Redevelopment Agency, so that brings us to City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have one item under the city manager, and that's to award a bid to Ranger Fire Inc. For fire sprinkler system updates at the RP Funding Center, specifically the Yuki Theater. In February, the city of Lakeland issued a request for bid for this fire sprinkling system to update the Yuki Theater systems. The project includes modification of the existing system in the basement, the back of the house areas of the theater, as well as a new fire system for the theater itself in the seating area. The item is required pursuant to the life safety codes as part of the upgrades to the facility, which were done over the last year and a half and have been awaiting an opportunity to be managed into the event schedule. Given the current circumstances, the advertisement was advanced and the work will be performed using this accelerated schedule. This measure will minimize downtime for the existing system and avoid impacts to the theater schedule once it's reopened. On March 16th, the City Purchasing Department received a following bid from Ranger Fire Inc. of $239,006. City staff, together with the city's engineering firm Hatcher Engineering, reviewed the bid and confirmed the scope of work complies with the project requirements. Funding is secured and provided in the fiscal year 2020 RP Funding Center Public Improvement Fund. It is recommended that the City Commission authorize the award to Ranger Fire Inc. and authorize the appropriate city officials to execute that contract in the amount of $239,006.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on, I'm sorry. Tony, it's 293, not 230.
I apologize. I got a little dyslexic there. 293,006.
Dyslexic the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's all right. All right. So there was a motion by Commissioner McLeod and then a second by Commissioner Franklin. and Commissioner Reed as well. Discussion by commissioners. We had a little bit of this discussion on Friday in the agenda study. Commissioner Franklin, you have a comment? I noticed your mic's open. Okay.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, very quickly, I know there was some discussion regarding fire code. We'll make sure that gets brought up as we move into strategic planning so we can differentiate some of those normal business codes as well as those that relate to public assembly facilities.
And that point you're making in that is that this is different than we would apply to some of our businesses because of the fact we have more concentration of people in the public assembly area.
Exactly.
Okay. Any discussion by commissioners? Any by the audience? Are there any open calls, Mr. Cook?
They're open.
Right.
If they want to comment, they can do so now.
Any comments on the fire sprinkler system update for RP Funding Center in the Yuki Arena? Hearing none, this is a voice vote. Let's just do it by raising our hands. All those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. Mr. Camarillo, you're in good shape, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your support.
Thank you. Anything else you want to add at all? That brings us back to our city attorney and our ordinances first reading.
Two ordinances for first reading. Under state law, ordinances are read by title only at first reading, and they will come back. Both of these ordinances will come back for a public hearing and final action by the City Commission, where public comment can be taken on May 4th. The first ordinance is proposed ordinance number 20-019, an ordinance relating to local government comprehensive planning, making findings, providing for small scale amendment number LUS 19-012 to a certain portion of the future land use map of the Lakeland Comprehensive Plan 2010-2020, changing the future land use designation on approximately 7.51 acres located south of I-4 and north of the villages of Bridgewater Village 3, from recreation to residential low, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Next is proposed ordinance number 20-020, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, amending ordinance 4322 as amended, provide for a modification to plan unit development zoning to allow for development of single family residential uses as part of the villages at Bridgewater Village 14 on approximately 7.51 acres located south of I-4, north of the villages of Bridgewater Village 3, changing the context district for the property to suburban neighborhood, providing conditions, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Once again, those will come back for public hearing on May 4th.
All right. No actions required, and those are read. That brings us down to C3.
I believe we took C2 off of the consent agenda.
That's correct.
FedEx parking license agreement. And Ramona's going to address that.
Good afternoon, Ramona Sirianni for the City Attorney's Office. This is the third modification to the FedEx lease agreement that we have with them for 100 parking spaces, which they currently lease in the Main Street parking garage. They are seeking to terminate that agreement for the 100 spaces. Since 2001, the original agreement was entered with them in 1995, and then since 2001, they've been subleasing 75 of those spaces to Mid-Florida. Subsequent to terminating those spaces, they are looking to go into the Heritage garage, and at this point, Mid-Florida is leasing those 75 spaces that it previously subleased from FedEx directly from the city, and that would be at a market rate of $70 per space per month. And as FedEx migrates over to the Heritage garage, that will also be at market rate at $70 per space per month as well. That would be effective May 1st, 2020. And I believe there was some other discussion at Friday's agenda study about the state of downtown parking and what's available. And we've got Angela Rao and John Yancey, I believe, online too. They have actually a very good mini presentation and a slide that's pretty helpful. They can pull that up.
So, John, if you'd like to go ahead with that, that'd be great.
Actually, Mayor, good afternoon. This is Angelo speaking. Kevin, were you able to pull that PowerPoint, please?
It's up, Angelo.
We see it, Angelo.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing what you're seeing. So just really, really quick, what we've done is put together a very short 3 slides. Basically, they give you an indication as of an approximation of the number of parking permit spaces that we have available at each of our city-controlled lots and garages, estimated to be as of June 1st. So it kind of gives you an indication. I think the headliner numbers that you're probably interested in would be the availability at Main Street Garage for a total of 130, and availability at the Heritage Garage for a total of 125, effective most likely June 1st. And John Yancey and Jason Woolley are doing an absolutely great job at marketing all these spaces and trying to fill them in as best we can. In a holistic and sort of a systematic way, if you will. Just thought that might be helpful to know, because I know there was some discussion on Friday.
We see that there's also 40 up at Oak and 5 on the Frontier lot, right?
Correct. Those, as I say, those are the overall. Let's see, the grand total of all those spaces, approximately 155 at $35 for uncovered space plus tax, and 210 covered at $70 plus tax, for a grand total of 365 in that whole of the region of that map that you see.
Excellent. Questions from commissioners? Commissioner Reed.
Good afternoon, Angelo.
Good afternoon, sir.
Is that $70 seem to the market rent? Are we getting any pushback from that, or are we going to be able to raise that? I know it costs about $15,000 per parking space to replace them, and
right.
I'm just wondering if we can bump this up in some way.
Well, right now that seems to be the market rate, or the I'm not an economist. There's a special term for that as to what the market will bear. That appears to be the value of what the market will bear plus tax, 70 and 35 for covered and uncovered respectively. We did do some little bit of market research with the city of Tampa and the cities of Tampa and Orlando. Orlando is way higher at about 110 and even higher. City of Tampa is at around the $87 mark for right downtown covered. So we seem to be in an approximately good range, given the scope and size of our city relative to our sister and brother cities to the east and west. We think we've got a fairly good market will bear price. John, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioner Reed. So as far as pushback, most of the temperature of the merchants downtown, especially those that lease a large number of spaces, we don't get any types of complaints or thinking that is too high. So that's positive. I mean, I think we would get the standard pushback of anytime you raise rates for anything in the city. However, I think right now we're pretty close to where we need to be. And looking forward into the next 3 to 5 years, I think we should definitely take a look at that and see what the demand is and where we are development wise, and see what we can do with those prices. So yes, sir.
Do we have any escalator clause? Are these month to month, year to year, 5 year, 10 years? What is our duration on these leases? And we got a CPI. What's the scenario on the leases?
Definitely month to month, and CPI. John, do you remember what the average is? Like 1 or 2% a year, something like that?
I think most of them are actually about 4% right now. 4%. The ones that are still out there. They're very few and far between at this point. We're trying to stay away from the long-term contracts, just because of the movement and the fluidity and the development of the city. We're wanting to maintain the control and the ability to make changes in a timely manner. So we're trying not to extend these contracts way out. So majority of the contracts that we're doing right now are month to month, like standard contracts.
Thank you. I like it.
Yeah,
I like
Commissioner Reed, if I may, really quickly, one of the things we looked at when we were becoming partners at the Heritage Plaza Garage was the ability to set a price, take a look at CPI within that garage, and then ultimately have some solid level of repayment. So that $70 price was a starting price that we felt comfortable from a financial standpoint that we could work with as we move forward as the base. In order to get back some of that repayment of the city's contribution.
Any other questions by commissioners? Commissioner McLeod.
Either John or Angelo, do we have a sense of, based on demand and the interest that we're having in the available spaces in terms of capacity, how long the capacity we have now, what that might look like in the future, how long are the spaces that are available now will be sufficient?
That's an excellent question. I think with what we're looking at right now with the number of businesses that are coming into the downtown area and the growth that we're seeing right now, I wouldn't bank on those types of numbers staying very long. In fact, Jason, Willie, and myself have once things kind of level out a little bit and we kind of get back to a sense of normalcy, we're really going to make a push to market the available spaces that we have right now with some of these spaces downtown that have been hard to lease out or to sell off in the past, to try to put some parking with them and see if we can move those along. I wouldn't bank on those numbers staying very long. I would say maybe 1 to 2 years, and then we'll probably start to maybe look at increasing that inventory again.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Right. Yes, other questions by commissioners? Okay. Any questions? For us to do this, by the way, we need it to have a motion. So there's a motion to approve, Commissioner Walker, and a second from Commissioner McLeod. So, and that is to approve this third modification of the parking license agreement. Any discussion by commissioners on the motion? Any discussion by the audience? Okay, hearing none, this is a voice vote, which is up by hand. All those in favor, signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. All right, that takes us to item 3. C3.
Yes, thank you. The next item is a first modification to the city's agreement with Tetra Tech for design services related to the replacement of the clear well at the T.B. Williams Water Treatment Plant. The clear well is a large holding structure where treated water is held before being either pumped through the distribution system or sent to storage tanks. It's a very significant facility, and this is a big project. This project has undergone review by a construction manager at risk, Wharton Smith, along with additional refinement by Tetra Tech and requirements imposed by the state revolving loan fund. And that has resulted in design changes and a revision to the schedule for this project that is now going to take twice as long as originally envisioned. So that's resulting in a cost increase for our design engineer of $338,051. The biggest part of that, component of that, is simply related to the additional time that this project is going to take. Tetra Tech is going to be providing a resident project representative that will be on site 24 hours a day, or not 24 hours a day, but 5 days a week for the entirety of this project. So when the project time schedule doubles, that's going to double the cost. So that is the primary component of that. There are also some once again, tweaks to the design of it that are resulting in some of those costs as well. But that is a first modification to increase Tetra Tech's fee by $338,051. The total cost for their services is now brought to $1,325,529. This is funded through the state revolving loan fund, as previously mentioned, and recommended for your approval.
There's a motion to approve. A motion from Phil Walker and a second. A second by Commissioner Madden. And so discussion by commissioners or questions? Commissioner Franklin?
Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. Any discussion by the audience? All right, then this is also a consent vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same. It unanimously passes.
The next item is also related to the clear well at the Williams Water Treatment Plant. This is a modification to the construction manager at risk agreement that the city has with Warren Smith. They were originally brought on back in 2018 to work with the design engineer. A construction manager at risk is typically brought in during the design process to participate in the value engineering, constructability analysis, start working with subcontractors to develop the project budget and expedite the project. And as a result of all this preliminary work that the construction manager at risk does, they then provide a guaranteed maximum price for the construction of the project. And that's what this first modification is memorializing the guaranteed maximum price that Warden Smith is providing. And that price is $17,301,164. Once again, a significant project. It's going to be funded through a loan from the State Revolving Loan Fund. And if there are any technical questions, I believe we have Tom Mariachi and Bill Anderson on the line as well.
Excellent. Is there a motion to approve? Commissioner McCarley, and then a second from Commissioner Franklin. All right, discussion by commissioners. Any discussion by the audience? Tom, it looks, and Bill, it looks like you're going to get off on this one. All right, then this is also a voice vote, which we'll do by hand. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And opposed? Unanimously passes as well. Thank you very much for the work done on this, by the way, Water Department. All right, that brings us to item number 4.
That was 4, and
sorry, 5. Yeah.
5 is on the consent. That's just the parking lease, the license agreement that goes with the zoning for Grand Villa.
Very good. So bringing us to utility section of the agenda when there are no ordinances or resolution readings. So that's C miscellaneous 1 on a GATX Corporation from Ramona Siriani. Item C1, Ramona, you are muted still. Still muted. You're coming. There you go.
Got it. This is a renewal and amendment of the lease agreement with GATX. We have a agreement to currently lease 236 rail cars from GATX. We've had this agreement with GATX since 2010. The current agreement is set to expire at the end of September of this year, and staff went out and started negotiating and were successful not only renewing the agreement, but actually getting a reduction in the rate of the rail cars from $225 to $190 per car per month. Along with that is a reduced rate in service charges in the event that we, for some reason, would return the cars late. Those charges have been reduced as well. And this locks in that rate for the 12-month period of $190 per car per month. The total cost is $538,080. This is included in the FY21 budget for Lakeland Electric, subject to approval by the City Commission. And this also represents a $99,120 per year savings, with just taking into account the reduced per car reduction.
Which is excellent. So is there a motion to approve? I see Commissioner McLeod and then Commissioner Walker on the second. All right, discussion by commissioners? Any discussion by the audience? Love it when we can save money. Okay, this is a voice vote as well. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. That takes us to the audience portion of our meeting. So if there's any audience input for any outside callers on any topic, this is that time to bring that up. And Mr. Cook, can you let us know if we have any callers?
Mr. Mayor, we have two callers on the line right now. So I'm going to unmute caller 3 and ask them to, because that's what's left on the line right now, caller 3 and 4. Caller 3, could you identify yourself, and it's your chance to speak before the City Commission. So if you are on the line to speak to the City Commission, this is your chance to do so if you have called in. Please go ahead.
Let's go to caller 4.
I've got them both open.
Say your name out loud.
Caller 4, can you just state your name? All right, it does not appear that we have them on the line. So I will point out that it's 3:33 and we are down to mayor, members of the commission comments. Let me round out my original comments on the survey that I was making while we were waiting for our clerk to be able to get online. And I want to make certain that you understand that survey is not represented by any particular organization. And CFTC has been contacted to be able to be a participant in that survey as well to its members. So I think that what we'd like to do is get it in your hands so that each of you can take a look at it as commissioners, see if there's anything you'd like to maybe modify it with. And if you wouldn't mind, the person honchoing all this is Chris Ann Long, on the benefit of everybody else, and not for Bridges' benefit at all, just as a voice collecting spot. So you could take a look at it. If you see or have any recommendations, if you could look at that yet tonight, it would be nice, and make those directly by text to Chris Ann. If you need her number, you can let Tracy know. She can give you that number if you don't have it, and those could be incorporated. Then each of those other organizations can populate it, and we would put it on our City of Lakeland site as well for their behalf, so people could look at it. But we'd just like to have you make sure that if you want to tweak it in any way, you can first. Okay. The other thing is we had an interesting email from Stacey Campbell Dominic that was workflow on unemployment assistance and reemployment assistance on the claims for Florida. And I just want to make this as part of the record because
Of course, I wasn't fast enough.
I know some of us have received some emails with respect to unemployment claim difficulties in filing, but claims submitted today are 1,533,000 for the state. That's 652,000 unique claims. 99.6% of them that are submitted and have been verified are 649. So 649,000 claims. Even though this isn't a city level, it is a state level concern in terms of money and money flows. 162,000 of those 649,000 have been processed, or 24.8% of those submitted claims. And 6.2% of them have been paid, or 40,000 claimants, for a total of $59 million. So a lot of money is flowing, but it appears it's starting to flow. So for some people who have not received their unemployment claims that have filed recently, it looks like that machine is starting to roll and fund better. That is it from my standpoint. Who has something else they'd like to share as a commissioner? Commissioner Walker, and then Commissioner Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And let me again share my, my complete gratitude to you as mayor and my fellow colleagues for the actual policy committee meeting that we had on this past Friday during the agenda study, after the agenda study session with the Lakeland History and Culture Center. I really appreciate you all's support that was given to, of course, that committee chaired by John Salvage. And of course, the report, as you know, was given by he. And of course, I've heard nothing but some positive, comments from the committee members, especially so about our commission and how well received they thought it was from you all as the elected officials of our city. So again, I'd like to say thank you. And we are, of course, moving forward. As you all know, there's not been an ask for this particular going to the budget year specifically. So, depending on what we have to deal with possibly tightening up our belts to deal with whatever issues and concerns that we may have regarding the City of Lakeland and the budget accordingly. So again, I want to say thank you for that. Secondly, we had a very, I think I would call it a very stalwart leader here in our probably Polk County community. The person does not live here in Lakeland, but the family is well known to all of us here in Polk County, is the Corbett family. Everybody probably remember J.J. Corbett, Mr. J.J. Corbett, probably one of the first, I think, African-American board members for Polk County School Board. He lost his wife, and of course, 97 years old, Miss Dolores Corbett, 97 years old. It was not COVID related. And of course, that service is coming up here. I think the family's having the service tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, of course, over in the Bartow area where the Corbett family resides. You probably, again, remember Mr. Corbett himself, but you also know his son, Jerome, who's been very active, as one of the educators here in our Polk County community and administrator as well with Polk County School Board. And matter of fact, his mother, Miss Dolores, was an educator as well for over 42 years here in Polk County with various schools in the Polk County area. I wanted to share with you because I did mention some kind of, I guess, I don't want to say troubling, but I want to say a concern that we have been hearing about, I guess, through the news media, national as well as local, state, about the pandemic situation when it comes to COVID-19 and people of color. I did share with you, I think, on this past Friday where we had a couple of incidents. I think it was like this past Friday, last Monday. Days all coming together now here. But about some situations, a couple of situations we had here in our Lakeland area. But I was really pleased to see the numbers as I reached out to Chief Garcia about what has happened and the numbers that represent our particular core, I call inner city, where I guess the butts of the African American community lie in, which is the Coastal Northwest District. And those numbers, I thought were very good, considering what's going on and some of the, I guess, negative comments being made about how this particular situation has had a rampant, I guess, situation here among those of us of Black or brown persuasion. But the numbers that he had given me from us as far as calls are concerned here in our community from the time about March up until now, when I guess the president himself announced a safer at home kind of a situation, up until now, it's been like 4+ weeks, only about 95 calls. There's only about 2.79 calls a day in the core, again, what we call African American community in the Northwest District. And here's the numbers of those relative to that 95 number. There were 49 what they refer to as being calls for disturbance, 26 noise disturbance, and 20 civil disturbance. And again, that's relatively low. When you think 2.79 calls a day for well over 4+ weeks in this particular period of time here that we've been dealing with the pandemic kind of situation. There is I think, an event coming up. I think I want to say tomorrow. And I don't know if Mayor, you may have been invited. I've not been, but there is an event being held, I think, tomorrow regarding the topic of that COVID-19 and the disproportionate numbers that we may be seeing around the state, especially with Florida, comparatively speaking to other states in our country. And it's been sponsored, I think, by the newly organized, as I think it's pronounced or known as the Polk County African American Chamber of Commerce. I think it's the the right name of the organization that's sponsoring that particular kind of call. I believe it's scheduled sometime tomorrow. But again, I want to make sure you all had these numbers and saw these numbers relatively to what we're dealing with the pandemic, especially again when it comes to our core African American community here in our city, and to have those kind of calls, that was that's considered being very low for having 2.79 calls per day regarding any kind of a disturbance of such, whether it be civil disturbance, noise disturbance, or just general disturbances of any kind. Just want to make sure the public hear that too as well, so they know what's happening here in our particular area. I think the article that was written by the Ledgers does sum it up pretty well, that I think a lot of our predominantly African American senior pastors of churches have shared their sentiments, is to have folk to know that to stay home or be safe at home, as we call it, and do what needs to be done to make sure the spread is not exploded even more. So my hats off to those particular senior pastors that have done that and continue to do that, just that, so people would know the importance of what is deemed to be necessary for our support and getting where we want to be quickly to get out of this situation as we approach, hopefully sometime in the very near future, of having some kind of resolve to this particular subject matter at hand. Lastly, I would ask that for those of us that probably were on the call with the Polk County EOC today earlier, I heard our mayor on the call. I know he made a statement, and I would have to just agree to some respect what he has shared, and that is, we're knowing that as our governor has formed this committee, as we do know, or if it has already been announced, to be announced, I think, and we're waiting to see who's on the committee or how the committee direction would be. And I think we know we'll probably we will move toward opening up business here in our state. But I think we need to make sure, however we do that, which I think is important. And I know for those of us, even though I'm somewhat semi-retired now, but those that still have businesses,
how does that feel?
Business, yeah, how does that feel, right? Still having folk knocking at your door even this morning about whatever concerns they may have, but still, that's what we get elected for.
Right.
So, that's why we are elected, to make sure we can answer and be available to our citizenry. But certainly, I think it's important that we know that we like to have business to come back. It's going to be a different kind of, I think, a comeback for what we have known it to be prior to our kind of a closing down of a business, as it would be. But I want to see how we can move forward, and having that happen here in our Lakeland community. I think it's important to see how we can make business operations get back on their feet again, and what support that we can lend in that respect, I think, is important also. So, I like to see how this committee has been formed and what direction has been given by the governor for them, and I think it's important for us to look at what those parameters would be, and helping support getting our businesses back to be operational in whatever that kind of way would be, but be supportive as best we can. And my last comment would be that I take that also to say we can look at possibly how we can look at maybe opening up some areas of our city again, in some respect, maybe, when it comes to, not, I would call it maybe recreational kind of situations, but let's see how this committee would unfold itself and what parameters they would bring forward. And let's be very careful about what we do as well for business and for opening up some things so our citizens to be able to enjoy some kind of recreation as we move forward here in these next, I think, week or so when we see that come about. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I could comment on a couple of your points. First of all, the meeting that you were talking about tomorrow is actually on Wednesday. So
Okay, Thank you.
That's a correction. Secondly, I have done a rough draft of a letter that we would all sign together and send to the governor that I've sent to Tony to take a look at, to our city manager to take a look at, and he has not returned, or maybe he has returned back to me, but I want him to weigh in on that. And that letter is a recommendation to the governor to think about, and of course I want your input on it because you're going to sign it if you agree or not. So if you don't agree, we won't send it, but it's a recommendation that we really follow the 14 days of reduction of numbers before we start to go open, and that he look at that on a countywide basis because of the difficulty we have as a city to do any appropriate enforcement. So it's a short and sweet letter, but just so that it's readable, but it's just that we would think about, let's let the numbers play the music on what happens with respect to the viruses. We are so American that we want to set dates and correct things and put plans into motion. And this isn't that. This is, we've got to know that we are having a victory in terms of what's happening where we live, and that the numbers have plateaued and they're reducing. We haven't gotten to a peak yet. And we're talking about reducing, when are we going back to work? We don't know where our peak is going to even be yet. And so I think my comment on the EOC call was, let's just have enough flaps to be able to not overcorrect too quickly and line up on the wrong deck, Commissioner Franklin. Okay. Any comments on that at all before we move on to that with respect? Yeah, Commissioner Franklin.
Well, Mayor, I was already going to ask the question too, and then listening to your comment earlier today, and then our tax collector, Joe Tetters, I agree with both of you. I think our decisions should be data-driven. But as he had commented, some businesses like his can't open on a dime. So right. I think it is important that we monitor the trends. And while we may always reserve the right to say, hey, we're not quite there yet, I think businesses do need that are going to require that ramp up time, need to have a little bit of a sense of, hey, we're almost there. Yeah, I know we're all inundated with information from every direction. And one of the charts I know we're all looking at is the Department of Health's map of the state. And it's got the little bar chart that shows the number of cases. It is interesting that for the state of Florida, the last 4 days from the 17th through the 16th through the 19th, I guess, there was a steady decrease in the number of statewide cases. I know the information's available. I just hadn't pulled it together. And I didn't know if this is something that maybe Kevin or someone could do. I think it would be great to have an infographic somewhere that just shows Polk County and our day-by-day trend, number of cases. I mean, we can pull that from all the different sources we're getting, but I haven't found, unless someone could point me onto it, a graphic that's as clear as the one as Department of Health's. It's just on Polk County.
Mr.
Kevin, I see you jump in there.
Yeah, we can get something for you and have it for you by Wednesday.
And I think what you're really saying is you'd like to have it updated every day.
Yeah, if we could, once we get it maybe by Wednesday, then just every day keep populating. And if that could be added to our COVID-19 banner on the top of the city page, I think everyone would just love to know kind of where we're heading. And at least from a statewide basis, with the phased-in approach they're talking about, we may be looking at parts of the state as early as, if we get another 10 days out through the end of April, by the time 5/1 rolls around, there will be parts of the state that for sure have met that criteria to start opening back up again.
And if we saw we had a downward trend happening at 7 days, we could start to be projecting 7 days from now, we could be opening
something unusual. We think we're going to be there too, right?
Commissioner Walker.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you, Commissioner Franklin. That's my sentiments as well, because we're some parts of the state may not be as we may not be able to open as soon as other parts of our state. And I think it's important when we see those kind of numbers, or see those kind of, I know I heard Dr. Jackson said in her comments, trends is something that we, she wanted to make sure that we understood numbers more so than trends, I think, if I say that correct. But certainly, where Polk County could be versus Broward, or versus Miami-Dade, or versus Duval, or versus our neighbor next door, Hillsborough. So I think that's important, because that would help us to say, what we think is best here for our particular community, as opposed to somewhere else.
Correct. Okay, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, this particular question is for Tony. I noticed that when do we anticipate the resurfacing of the path down Lake Hollingsworth to be completed?
Well, unfortunately, with the rain today and possibility of rain this week, we were supposed to have it done by the 25th. That's still our goal, is to have it done by Friday.
Okay, it's unfortunate. I see people using it and going around the barriers and stuff, just on a minimal basis, but invariably people are still using it a little bit. I probably more the people live down next to it, but I don't see the cars parked in all the places. But I do see some people using that facility a little bit. I was just wondering when it's going to be finished surfacing, so that might be some criteria we look at later on. But
well, obviously everyone could use the bike path. That's still very, very much essential per the governor's orders. And so if people use the bike path to run, walk, bike, they have that ability to go ahead and do that. But the goal was to get it done by the 25th. If this rain holds off, we should make it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I can quick before another commissioner comment, I did receive the letter that you sent me. I made one little minor comment to you. If you would like, in order to meet the criteria of sunshine, I will send that out to all the commissioners so that they can comment directly to me and I can share it with you.
Perfect. Let's do that.
Okay.
And include your comment, your correction that you put on mine into what they see.
Well,
okay.
I kind of just sent you the comment. I didn't weave it into your.
Okay, I'll correct it with that comment and send it back to you. All right, sir.
Yes, thank you.
And Commissioner McCarley.
I just wanted to say really quick, as a homeschooling parent now, that I got a great message today, as we all did for Polk County Schools, from Superintendent Byrd. She did a robocall out to all the families throughout Polk County Schools, which is roughly 101,000 students. Just wanted to pat her on the back for that. And it was, we're all in this together, a very positive approach. But having an 8th grader wrapping up middle school and a junior in high school not able to take AP exams in person or SATs and ACTs, I just wanted to tell people listening, we're all, we feel you. My spiritual gift is not teaching. However, we're getting through it, here at our house. But I did want to give people a reminder that, a lot of the people who are sacrificing during this time are people who have the least amount to sacrifice. So when I think about the struggles we're having in our own home with my husband's small business, of which he runs, and it's on complete hold at the moment. I understand and can empathize with our community at large, having kids at home, trying to make sure all the devices are up and running, making sure that if I have I have a commission meeting, everyone else has to get off Wi-Fi, because I want to be able to hear my partners at the city and everybody communicate with me, and that we don't get that digital, view online. So they're asked to hop off, even if it's in the middle of the school day, so I can work with you all to help with the city. But I want to really highlight the hourly essential employees who are going to work every day. They may not be able to be home with their children who are trying to learn online, and they are choosing their own family's help for providing a safe place for their families. So they go to work and they can have a roof over their heads, and their children are safe and have physical safety during this time while they have to go out and work. And so the more we can minimize exposure to people, I think the better, because we represent all of Lakeland, not just certain pockets of Lakeland. And I think that it's really important to consider. I also think we should talk about, maybe, Tony, this can happen on May 11th at our formal meeting from Parks and Rec, a game plan for the summer, for summer camps, how we're going to social distance, how they're going to work to provide a service to our community that's going to be very needed. At that point in time, our kids will have been home for a long time, and we are going to finish the school year out at home, and then we're going to have summer. And a lot of these students are going to be out of a classroom from March 13th until the beginning of August. That's a lot of catch-up time. And if you're already behind in school and you don't have a mom or a dad or a grandma or a guardian home with you every day working on these classes, that is actually an economic problem in the future. Okay, because we're going to lose a lot of space. Even though we're doing our very best right now, we have children who are struggling and who really need help. So I think we need to understand that challenge and be very sensitive to it. And we need to be thinking about the physical safety of our kids and actually providing our community through Parks and Rec in the summertime when things are safer to be open again, how we are going to work together to make sure Kelly Rec and Simpson Park and Camp Blast and all those programs can be up and running safely so that the people who do work in our community have a place. And they have a place that considers their children's scholastic work as well, so that it might not just be Parks and Rec. Maybe we have to amp up and have more computers in those places so kids can catch up over the summer. Or maybe so they can be on task to be ready to go in August and we don't have to take August and part of September to play catch up educationally. And I know as a city commission, that's not may or may not be our role, but I do think we can underpin some of the challenges and the ripple effect of this virus in our community in a really healthy way. And we can think about those things now. Like we might not have camp in June, but maybe we have camp starting July 1 and really start considering how to support these families who are working right now, and they can't sit and watch a commission meeting and see what we're talking about. They can't be on the Department of Health calls. And to echo the mayor's comment earlier, we have not met the peak yet. Hearing Dr. Jackson today, she doesn't want to commit to saying what that date is. So I agree with Commissioner Franklin and not Commissioner Mutz, Mayor Mutz, about being very proactive, and the tax collector as well, that we can game it out a little bit. So I just want to but support our city rec department to start considering some of these things, Tony, for May 11th meeting, maybe just to come back and say, here's our contingency plan for camp. But also just for my colleagues to realize that, there are lots of people in our community who are not necessarily small business owners, but they're struggling nonetheless. And we're struggling to keep our sanity with making sure that our kids' homework is done on a daily basis. And I have the luxury of being able to work from home. So I'm overwhelmed. So I cannot imagine someone who has other things stacked against them, that they're not overwhelmed in this world, and that we do all have each other's backs. And one of the great things that I keep telling my high school junior, because Mrs. Madden has a high school junior, it's universal. The College Board is dealing with this universally. Colleges and universities are going to have to reconsider how they do acceptance next year. They're going to have rolling acceptance that I hope the Board of Governors right now is thinking about for the state of Florida, as well as the COVID response. A lot of things are going to have to happen. And I just sort of want to make you aware that when I am quiet on other issues, these are the things that keep me up at night, especially the least of our children who aren't getting what they need. And by the way, may not be even at a safe place. School for a lot of our kids is a respite. It is a safe place for them to be at 7 hours a day. So just when we're thinking about all of this, and for the audience at large, please consider that we are all doing the very best we can with the information that we have, and that everyone on this commission is well-intended and well-informed, and that we are thinking of all the Lakeland people and residents, as well as Polk County. But Tony, I know you wanted to comment on the Parks and Rec part, and that'd be great.
Thank you. Stated.
Thank you, Mayor Mutz. Thank you, Commissioner McCarley. And yes, we are already trying to work on a game plan, because we understand not just the community, but our own folks. The folks that will be coming back to work, hopefully, are going to need the same respite. And so Bob Donahue and his team are already working on how we can go ahead and utilize our facilities. One of the key components and a big question, and obviously we need to spend a little bit more time with the Polk County School Board. As you know, we utilize a lot of their facilities too during the summer. And we want to make sure that they're comfortable in allowing us to continue to use that. So Bob and his team is already reaching out, understanding we don't have all the answers yet. We're still waiting on a number of things that come, not just from the state level, but county level. But we are working on that. So yes, we'll get you something as soon as we have it in hand, and hopefully before May 11th.
Excellent. Commissioner McCarley, one question I have on, and I know we're not the school board, but on AP testing and ACTs, what are the plans?
So there are no ACT and SAT have been canceled until July, I think. College Board exams for AP. College Board, if you're on Instagram, for people listening, College Board is the best Instagram social media group there is right now. They push out tutorials. You can do your AP US history, like an addendum to your regular class. You can get online like at 11 o'clock on Tuesdays. You can check their schedules. It's free. These students that are taking APs to prep for their exams, they can do a lot online. but I think they'll be taking it home, and there'll probably be some guidelines of how that can happen.
Oh.
But right now, where it stands, they'll all be at home, and they won't be in a testing center. So, for instance, my junior was slated to take her first SAT March 14th at Florida Southern College, and it was canceled. School canceled March 13th, that SAT, and then she had since registered for May. That was canceled. Visit to Vanderbilt's canceled. That was supposed to happen in March. We moved it to May. It's no longer no visits to campus. So it's a lot of moving parts, but I think the College Board is doing a really good job at pushing information out. And our Polk County schools, just let me say, are doing an excellent job. I mean, this is new to everybody. This is not a complaint toward our school system in the least. They are doing a great job, but we do need to consider, some kids have many siblings and one device at their home. So they have, one of these, and everybody's trying to do homework on that and schoolwork for several hours a day. And that is, something that the school district is working on. There are pockets around our community that I'm individually working on myself and trying to understand that the school board might be doing school buses with hotspots to go into neighborhoods where Wi-Fi is not working well. So there's a lot going on. I think they're doing great. I just think this curveball that has appeared in our society is something we were obviously not prepared for, but everybody's getting great and being nimble and lean and mean. So I think it's going well as it can be.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Delgado, in reference to what Commissioner McCauley has already mentioned about summer programs and Camp Blast, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I hope we're looking at, I know too, that we always provide scholarships as best we can to support summer camps for those who may qualify. Well, because of what we know we're faced with, and as she mentioned, because of some people, as far as their jobs concerned, may not have jobs now, I know we got to look at some, be creative, because you're going to have children who need to be, hopefully be in a summer camp somewhere or be a part of a summer program somewhere, and there may not be funding available within the home or the income in the household to take care of it. So hopefully when you're looking at those things, what can be done and what support can be given, that we look at, our scholarship situations as well. And I know all it has to do with budget. I got that. That's why I know we got some things that may need to change comparatively speaking to what we normally would do when it comes to our budget time as well. So thank you.
Well, we haven't changed our scholarship program. I mean, to expand it, we'll certainly take a look at that and try to get an idea of what those impacts are. But we have not changed the scholarship program. So I want people to understand that, and if they're able to apply and they meet the criteria, that has not changed.
Yeah, it wasn't so much thing as being changed for it has been changed, but for the best that we may expand it even if we could.
We'll certainly take a look at that, sir.
Very good. Other commissioner comments? Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you. And just to echo some of the other comments, and I know we have talked about parks at nearly every meeting that we've had recently, but as we're talking about reopening, a potential reopening of the state and communities, I do think that's timely to start thinking about what does that look like, as Commissioner Walker mentioned, some of our outdoor spaces and recreational areas. I feel like I'm having, as many of you may as well, more conversations about that. And when I heard over the weekend that the governor decided schools are not going back, I think we all expected that, but just thinking about, as Commissioner McCarley was saying, families that are at home and all day, and for some families, they have yards and backyards and places they can go, and others don't. And so that the longer that we have places that are closed that they would be able to access, that can become a strain. And so I want us to keep an eye on that and not keep things closed any longer than we feel is absolutely necessary. And so just start thinking of what is that plan for reopening of the recreational side? What does that look like?
Yes, sir. Good word. Good word. Other comments by commissioners? All right, seeing none, is there a motion for adjournment? I see Commissioner Reed and a second, and Commissioner McCarley. All those signify by raising your hand. Opposed, saying. Thank you very much. Appreciate so much your availability to do this way, and Kevin, your team, to make it happen. Thank you.